to me and said, but because of my work with the city, I already knew that this. But I'm like, Greg, why don't you just say what if you're really interested in the school system? We offer one. You didn't say, I'm like, Greg, what's that? Why didn't you say something to me? Because you got a customer.
Why is that on the website?
I'm gonna see if he sent it.
Oh, before it's even approved?
I'm good,
Yeah,
how are
aren't we
you?
approving this tonight? By the way, it's also in the newspapers,
Yep,
so
and I will be saying something to you.
I'm going to say something.
I'm not
And you
happy.
guys-
I'm not happy.
Oh, my tummy hurts.
No,
Well,
I mean,
we're
you know,
not gonna
it's,
be, yeah,
you know,
be
Well, you're
respectful.
absolutely right.
It's wrong.
I mean,
It's wrong.
the man isn't, I get that
It's plain disrespect. It
professors
means the board
have to
is
start at the
not
beginning.
understanding.
We haven't met yet. Some things I get, but.
Huh? No, she hasn't
why
passed
is
them
that
out yet.
not fine?
Oh,
Keep
I'm
your hands
sorry,
off.
are they all the same?
Keep your hands.
But yeah. Mary, I've been thinking about
You
what
have
options.
pens?
Okay,
Okay, I
I
got
mean,
Find it in
you
videos.
guys know.
If I seemed very short earlier, it's because I had just pulled up to the elementary school to pick up a sick kid.
No, not
Oh.
flu.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, because you go sit in the hallway and put a mask on.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah,
They're
no,
giving
no,
us
no, no,
medicine,
no, I
said
didn't think
man.
you were, no.
Man, no.
Door-
It's the man flu. Man cold.
No, that happens in the super.
Put your enclosures in the flap of the in thing, but I know that Mary, you don't.
My husband used to call it, because he used to.
I just lean over to,
There you go. He doesn't, he takes Molson's now, but he
and
used to
see,
take Foster's.
I even have from
Too hard to find.
Kathy.
Do you need a pen? I know
So
you were
he used to call Foster's spider, bit him. Yes.
So I was looking at this part to see is the vice president, what's his name? Oh, this is the last one.
So get this type instead. I said, okay.
Well, it's not me. It's not even, I think it's made in Canada. They bought it out anyhow.
Is that
Well,
right there?
he stopped drinking it, but he does like Canadian beer.
I'm sorry, here.
Okay,
Oh, this is cold? See, I came from a room that was even colder.
this feels cold to me. I thought it was me. I'm freezing.
Oh, that's true too. It is partial.
Can we get some heat in here?
I don't know, if you saw your email for February
Cool in
7th.
here, isn't it?
Yes,
Can we
I
get
just
some
didn't get a
heat
chance
in
to look
here?
at
Oh, that's okay.
No,
But,
okay, we haven't paid our bills. I have one more.
he can't do that, he can't.
Oh, we can't do lunch.
He can do early morning or
Okay.
late afternoon.
Okay, that's fine.
Unless I can try to talk to him.
Hey,
I just have to, I have another meeting at 5 that night.
Oh, no.
So anytime before that, then
That's a plus, if everybody says they're too cold, well, then we get out of here.
So what can these?
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep telling my husband every time he jacks up the heat in our house, it's like, we gotta pay that bill.
You know what? I increased the temperature after fixing the humidifier.
I was ready to come over here for a policy meeting.
Yeah. We got a lot of
4 screens in the living room that thermostat.
So you came here?
I got it.
Wednesday in my way.
oh, it's not plugged in.
some kind of different heater in there.
We got
Are you
that.
using, okay, so you're using
It's used.
all
space.
those rooms, it's not, yeah.
Shut the door today. It's happening.
Oh my gosh, under this desk, it keeps getting my pants dirty.
This is a lot warmer than the finance department. They keep you guys cold so you don't fall asleep. Buttons flying, fingers just going over. Yeah.
Did you see the difference in price in the contract?
Lunch was work.
Oh,
So if you
okay,
just come to the office, I'll order luncheon for you.
perfect.
I mean,
They-
are
they
they
were.
different than from the last time? We did the patient simulators and things?
Yeah, these are, well, no, these are,
Good.
but I'm trying to figure out why there's such a huge variance.
Good
Are we
evening.
getting the same quality, or are we paying a
I
lot?
kind of looked at like, when they're talking about all the i7 Intel Core i7.
Yeah.
And it's getting my pants
Processor, man. It's like saying we bought a cartridge that's got a heavy.
But they were all within the same
Those
range.
same, yeah.
These two 50,000, one was 49, the contract of 40. There was only two. That's true. One was 49,000, the other was 93. Why the huge, I'm not upset about paying less, but I'm worried about the quality of it. Are we gonna get a piece of crap for the 49,000? you know, that we're gonna be replacing
It's an
that.
open box deal. That's what we bought one for Christmas. They
Clearance.
decided to offer it.
Oh, maybe these are for evaluations of. So everybody.
Truck stop and your legible
We can attend the
My
search committee
fingers are
meeting.
cold, I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, you can, but you can't vote, I believe.
Right. I'll just put it.
Well, they say it's gonna go up to almost 50 degrees by the weekend.
You know what? We got a budget. We can deal with this. What's that? We're not going over budget at all. We're not going over budget.
No, we're really holding our own.
Did you bring yours from home?
No. It was in my left.
Oh, left side. Well, she usually has it in a separate.
You didn't hear me when I said I tossed it up. I'm saving the college money.
I don't care. I just want to know where I'm looking for it. Or was I supposed to bring mine from home from Thursday? Because I left it.
I think whoever decided to move the cookies back and the coffee back to the front of the room instead of back
It was
on
there
the-
for the one-time deal.
I'm complimenting.
Except for when it comes by.
Are you ready, Secretary? Yes. Everybody ready?
Okay, so this
Let's call this meeting to order.
having a fundraiser.
January 16th, Board of Trustees meeting.
This day at 5:30.
Secretary, call to order and roll call.
Roll call. Hussein Berry here. Fadwa Hamud.
Here.
Mary Lane.
Here.
Celia Nasser.
Here.
Mary Petchikoff.
Here.
James Thorpe.
Here.
And Chair Michael Mead.
Here. Next item, please.
Approval of minutes. Recommended action, move to approve the minutes of the Special Board of Trustees meeting on December 4th, 2017, the Special Board of Trustees Policy Committee meeting on December 18th, 2017, the closed session meeting on December 18th, 2017, and the regular Henry Ford College Board of Trustees meeting on December 18th, 2017.
So moved.
Support?
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, unanimous. Next item, please.
Recognition and acknowledgements.
Thank you, Mr. Sikowski, Chair Mead, and members of the board. My name is Aaron Skur. I'm a graduate of Bloomfield Hills High School and began attending Henry Ford College in the fall of 2016. I was recruited out of high school and chose HFC due to its strong reputation of sending players to four-year institutions in the Major Baseball League. I received academic all-MCCAA honors as a freshman and have been named to the Hawks academic team for the past 3 semesters. I recently returned from a recruiting visit at North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro. I plan to study environmental engineering at A&T or another university. The National Junior College Athletic Association Division II Men's Basketball Poll Committee has ranked the HFC men's basketball team 21st in the nation in the January 9th, 2018 poll. 46% of HFC student athletes were selected to the fall 2017 Hawks academic team. The Hawks academic team recognizes student athletes who have achieved at least a 3.0 grade point average during the semester. 4 student athletes earned a GPA of 4.0. Congratulations to Ms. Aura Cesares, Student Conduct and Compliance Officer and Title IX Coordinator. Ms. Cesares received a Restorative Justice Conference Facilitation Certification by the International Institute for Restorative Practices. Congratulations to HFC Ceramics alumnus John Ansack. Mr. Ansack won 3rd place in an exhibition of 37 artists. Congratulations to Dr. Layla Chirara, nursing faculty. Dr. Chirara received a prestigious certification in simulation, Certified Healthcare Simulation Educator, or CHSE. We also want to congratulate Dr. Chirara for the upcoming publication of her journal article titled Interactive Anatomy, Augmented Virtual Simulation Training, to be published in the Clinical Simulation in Nursing Journal. Henry Ford College offers information technology, or IT, degrees in 4 specializations: computer information systems or software development, network administration, cybersecurity, and web development. The Associate in Applied Science degree in web development was successfully launched in fall 2017 after significant market research and planning. The program now has strong enrollment, is helping to close the 20-to-1 ratio of IT job openings to IT graduates in the region. In fall of 2017, the interior design students at HFC collaborated with Henry Ford Village on a semester-long project called the Student Designer Show House to renovate an existing one-bedroom senior living apartment home at the village in Dearborn. Students were assigned a client from the village who provided background and the inspiration for the home's design. Upon completion of the construction renovation, an open house for this Student Designer Show House ran from December 7th to the 9th. Over the 3-day period, approximately 75 future residents toured the apartment, as well as current residents, guests of the students, and the general public. HFC students were present to greet these people and answer questions about their work. One additional note, potential Henry Ford Village buyer/resident toured the HFC apartment home prior to the open house and before it was fully staged. As soon as the buyer walked into the apartment, she was sold and she immediately placed a down payment on the home. This is the beginning of a tremendous partnership between the college and Henry Ford Village. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric? Aaron? You're a center fielder
Yeah.
for the Hawks?
Yeah.
And what's the season look like this year?
You mean in terms of how good the team will be?
Yeah.
Hopefully pretty well. We have a really good chemistry this year between all the players, so hopefully it'll turn out really well. And hopefully we'll make the playoffs and make a run for the World Series.
Well, good luck to you.
Good
and
luck
the
to you.
team.
Good luck.
Yes.
Forget the baseball. How's the environmental engineering look? That's my interest.
Good. I mean, right now I'm in calculus, so yeah. So well on my way to getting my degree in engineering.
Congratulations on that, because a lot of young Americans don't want to study engineering. I mean, for 30, 40 years, people have been saying we need people in health sciences, we need engineering, math, we need a lot of things that, and environment is one that we definitely need, in case people hadn't noticed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really congratulate you, and I look forward to having you working in the field, because there's lots of work to be done. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
choosing
Good
it.
luck.
He may
Thank
want
you.
to partner up with a political science degree as well then. Just so that we make sure.
Thank you. Thanks, Aaron. Next item, please.
Is that it for recognition and acknowledgements?
Next item.
President's updates.
I have a few updates. How's this sound? This working? Good. Okay. Well, first off, I want to say thank you to Mary Lane for being the chair for the last year and a half on this board. I know it's a very interesting, time-consuming position, and you're doing double duty, both as a community college, as the college.
It's a lot of fun.
As
I
the-
recommend it to everyone.
The college board as well as the P-12 board. When I was a school board member, I only had to deal with K-12, didn't have to deal with a college. So yes, it's very time-consuming, and I want to thank you. And I want to thank all of the outgoing officers and also the incoming officers. Chair Mead, it'd be a pleasure working together for at least 5 months, 6 months. Co-chair Nuri Petlikoff, and Hussein as the secretary, and Fadwa as the treasurer. I was a treasurer for a number of years, and I saw David coming up here getting you to sign all of that, all that information. So brings back
I told them I
memories.
usually charge for my signature. Exception.
So congratulations to everyone. On the left-hand side of your packet is the latest cash report. This was as of last Thursday. A little bit of improvement over the prior week, an additional $155,000 change from our estimate from last week to this week. And our projections on the third page show that our cash forecast for June 30th of 2018 will be right around $22.5 million. That's compared to $19.5 million from the June 30th, 2017 balance. So things look good with cash. We picked up on some with enrollment improving at the beginning of January due to people coming back from the break. And we currently have almost $22 million invested. But by the time the 29th of January rolls around, we'll have our federal financial aid payment, which I'll push our cash up another $13 million. So David and Kevin and we'll put our heads together and see how we can invest that over the next 90 to 120 days. You really get it's really strange because we can remember investments rates of 8%, 7%. And David and I got really excited when we saw 1.8% the other day. So there's so some of the things are up. So there's the weekly cash report. Any questions with regards to the status? The next report is the 6-month general fund report, one-page summary. It's through December 31st. Budget, we were planning to have a surplus. Again, this is a surplus because our expenses in January, February, March, and April, May will be higher than revenues. We're collecting revenue now. But the budget was to be just under $20 million surplus. We are at $21.5 million, so it's an improvement of a little over $1,700,000. And then compared to last year at this time, we were at $18.8 million as a surplus, so it's a $2.5 million, $2,600,000 improvement over last year. Enrollment. One of the key things with the budget is that we budgeted for a -3% in enrollment. The fall, as you all know, was just under zero, just was under break even. It was down about 0.4%, and as of today, it's down 1.28% for the winter semester, which again is beating the 3%. But we're keeping our fingers crossed because there's deregistration tomorrow. That coincides with last year as well for deregistration. But Kevin assures me that the number of deregistration hours will be less this year than last year. Put you on the spot there, Kevin.
I don't remember that being exactly how I phrased it, but should be good.
Any questions on the status for the first 6 months? Okay, thank you. With that, that's all I have for now, and until later in the agenda, Dr. Mead.
Next item, please.
Special reports. State of the College recap, board report number 4407.
This was done 2 weeks ago at the opening of the winter semester. I think I went over this with most of you during our one-on-one sessions over the last 2 weeks. But I wanted to take a little bit of time and go through it tonight, maybe take 10, 15 minutes and see if I can run that PowerPoint up there and get my IT lesson for the day. There we go. In the opening session, we talked about for this second half of the year, it's not stand in place, but to continue on with a number of items that we've been working on over the last year, over the first 6 months of this year, but continue on with 5 of these items, and there are numerous other items, of course, to deal with, but I wanted to highlight these 5, primarily the overall student retention effort that's taking place, the capital request, which has been submitted to the state of Michigan on November 1st for the upgrade to the technology building, the institutional energy master plan, which should have a draft for the board in March, at the March board meeting. Garforth International, who's been doing this work for us, will do the presentation, show us where we can improve our energy efficiency and save, according to their recommendations at this point, 60% on our consumption not just dollars, but 60% of our consumption on electricity, natural gas, and water usage. The SME lease facility use is a major issue that we need to take a look at because SME is leaving in August. In fact, Kathy, they emailed us today saying they signed a lease for a location in Southfield. So they're wondering if we want to retain the furniture and the furnishings that are in the building today, which we'll be meeting with them next week to go over. And then the fifth item was the planning and background regarding potential millage renewal because the 5-year period will be ending in 2019. We have one more year for that additional mill, which the voters so positively approved back in 2013. What I wanted to show here was how does our property tax revenue compare with other colleges around us. And as I told you, I put Monroe up there just because even though they're smaller, that's where I live, that's where I pay taxes to the community college. But I wanted to emphasize and show that Henry Ford in 1617 had just under $13 million of property tax revenue compared to the other 5 on there. Monroe at $12.3 million. But I want to emphasize that Monroe has an additional 3/4 mills that just got approved 6 months ago that will add an additional $4 million to their property tax revenue. And basically the issue is we have a small district. We have a small district. We're contiguous with the P12 district, and that's our taxing authority, so we have a small tax base. Property tax per student, $1,400 for a full-time equivalent student. See our enrollment there compared to everyone else. We're at the best half of the amount of Schoolcraft, which is the second lowest on this. Oh, excuse me, Macomb and Schoolcraft. You can see we're $1,100 difference with Macomb and about a little over half the amount that Schoolcraft is getting. This just shows that same thing comparatively, graphic-wise. The small amount off to the to HFC, the smallest graph compared to the other institutions compared to our enrollment. Revenue and expenditures per full-time student, second lowest in this category. Macomb with an enrollment of about 5,000 more students, averages around $9,200 in revenue per student. We're at $9,600, but you can see the progression of the other 4 institutions that are on there as well. Expenditure-wise, you can see too that we're second to Macomb. But I want to make emphasize something here. Our expenditures and revenues are inflated for 2016 and 17 because of the $5 million state equipment grant. That's what shows up as revenue, and it shows up as expenses.
I was going to ask you what is making up the numbers for the revenue and the expenditures.
And that's why it skews us toward the high end for 16 and 17 because of that $5 million state equipment grant. We record that as revenues, and then we also record that as expenditures. If you exclude that, we would be below Macomb. And then again, comparison with other school districts, revenues and expenses. The blue being the revenue per student, the red being the expenditures per student. And this is a running list of how much in property tax revenue we have been receiving over the years since fiscal year 2007 to an estimate for fiscal year 2018. There is one error on this. Fiscal year 2012, 2013, I just found it out about 20 minutes before the meeting tonight. I was going through this information in a prior year, so the state, the ACS report has us misstated for 12 and 13. It should be 10 million, right around $10,500,000. So I wanted to if you make note of that that number is wrong at the state level. We have to get that corrected, David, if we can get a hold of them on that. And this was true. I went back about 4 different years, and that number did change. Was $10,500,000 over the prior 4 years' reports. So this shows at this back in 2009 we were at 3 mills all the way up until 2014 and 15, which is where we went into 4 mills. So you can actually see that 3 mills back in 2009 generated $14.5 million, divided by 3, almost $5 million per mill. Today, we're just over $3 million per mill, and that's going to be dropping because of the elimination of the personal property tax. Locally, we'll be getting less money locally. That's why we're going to rely upon the state and the statute that's been put in place 2 years ago that said whatever we lost in personal property tax, the state will make up the difference. Okay. How long that goes, no editorial comments by me on that. So this shows the trend, again, that 2012-13 should be lower. It shows what had happened and took effect during the economic downturn during 2008 all the way to 2014. Then we had the additional mill put in place, and then the 2 far right columns, we show the pure property tax and then also the gold yellow piece that shows what we get up in personal property tax. It's made up from the state. So what has that all done? Well, over the last, showing here the last 6 years, our unrestricted net position when it was $10 million, a little over $10 million back in 2012, went down to $2 million, our low point in 2013, and then with changes of operations, additional property taxes, and retention, generation of funds, the 2 years there from 13 to 14 and 14 to 15 saw a great increase during those 2 years. Over the last 2 years, 16 and 17, a little over, just under $1 million. The 1 year, well, a little over $1 million this past year, and then before that about $1.8 million. So the curve is tending to level off, and we're seeing that with state appropriations, where we received 1% increase this past year. The property tax is coming back, but it's still coming back only at the Headley rate, inflation rate, or I think it's inflation rate or 5%, whichever is less. I can't recall, but it's been in place since 1995. And then the tuition and fees, which by comparison, we are still the second lowest provider in district and right around the lower third in out of district. This is the graph from Plant Moran that they do every year at the end of the audit. It shows, what color is that? Blonde, flesh colored. Shows the general fund trend over the last 12 years. And then the blue, purple shows the fund balance, all of the entire unrestricted fund balances. And you can see the trend that came downward from 2011, 12, 13, and then back upward. The general fund has almost met its mark at, well, it's just crept into the comfort zone of a little over $10 million, whereby the 20 to $24 million range for total unrestricted is just below that, and it's still some work to do to get to that point. Where does our revenue come from? The biggest piece comes from tuition and fees. A lot of it comes from out-of-district tuition, because we are 30% in-district, 70% out-of-district, versus Wayne County, for example, which is 90% in-district, 10% out-of-district. So that's why our revenues from tuition are as large as they are. We are heavily dependent on the out-of-district students for tuition. And then the tax, the property tax piece of it, state appropriations, and as well as the retirement portion. You see the UAAL portion of it is the retirement payment that we receive from the state for the pension plan. Expense-wise, general fund expenditures, most of it through instruction at 52%, student support services, or student services, and then the area of, let's see here, instructional support and student services, administrative expenses, which includes the bad debt, and we've always pulled that out to take a look at and see how much of that is the cost of administration and the bad debt. And one time, the bad debt was larger, almost as large as that circle. It was taking up almost 7% when we were back up there in the $11 million range. So. And then this shows the trends of revenue and expenses over the last 9 years, estimated for 2018, and in your packet tonight is an update for 2018 with some mid-year adjustments. As long as that red line stays below that blue line, then we all can celebrate. So it's been close the last few years. It's been close the last few years, but with seeing the adjustment, we budgeted for 2018 just a little over $250,000 surplus. Tonight's adjustments will, I'll steal your thunder, Kevin, will take us above $1.2 million for surplus for the mid-year adjustments. So that's a Reader's Digest version of what I gave during the State of the College address. Questions on any of that? Okay.
John?
Yes.
I have one question about the millage renewal. When will the board actually take action on that, whether there will be one or not?
Probably we'll be looking at something in April or May.
April or May? Okay, we're going to get information ahead of time?
Yes, you will.
Okay, all right.
So, and you said for 2019, so it's going to be on the ballot for November 2018?
It'll be on the ballot for 2018.
Okay.
Would have to.
Because we will have one more year through June 30th of 2019, and then effective on July 1, 2019, either we have it or we don't.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Action items, citizen participation.
Discussion
No,
item.
discussion item.
I was trying to skip that.
John already stole my thunder.
It's kind of cold in here.
We want to hear it.
Sorry about that. Discussion items, fiscal year 2017, 2018, mid-year budget adjustment. Board report number 4408. Mr. Kevin Cutler.
Hi there, good evening, Board and Interim President Setkowski. John did steal the thunder, so the report will be pretty quick here. I was going to be quick anyway, to be honest with you, and that's good news. Throughout normal course of business during the year, we routinely make a number of budget adjustments. However, at the midpoint in the year, we look at what the actual expenses and revenues have been for the first 6 months, and we compare those to what our budgeted forecast was for the year, and then we make budgetary adjustments based on those projections. And so at the midpoint here in fiscal year 2018, we are projecting revenue to be approximately $1.6 million higher than originally projected. The largest piece of that is the personal property tax revenue looking to come in about $1 million ahead of what was projected. And then additionally, some about $450,000 increase in tuition and fees, because as you heard, enrollment has been better both in fall and so far in winter than what was anticipated, and about $250,000 improvement in bad debt based on increased collections over last year. So it's a total of about $1.6 million in revenue adjustments. Expense adjustments, about $649,000. The largest components of that are additional costs for